One of the great things about a great novel is that you learn things without it feeling like you're learning, without the work. Truth is sort of smuggled under your radar. That is certainly true with my favorite novel, Les Misérables by Victor Hugo, which Sherry and I have been to a couple plays. I was recently on the C.S. Lewis trip. When we were in London, it was playing, and we got to go to that. I've watched every movie derivation of it. And as you may know, it's got a big emphasis on grace. One of the early scenes shows Jean Valjean trying to, stealing some silver. I don't want to give too much away. This is first 100 pages of the novel that I try to reread during Lent. During Advent, not during Lent, during Advent, to just try and understand how I could be a little bit more like the gracious bishop who extends grace. But it's not just grace that you see illustrated in Les Mis. You also see the law, and the law is portrayed by Javert, and he's this very intimidating guy who does not believe that you can change. And I'm not going to give too much. If by chance you don't know Les Mis, wow, you got to watch the musical. You got to see some of the movies. You got to read the book, because the novel, of course, develops a whole bunch that the musical doesn't develop. All that to say, we get this emphasis on the law, and it sort of collapses in upon itself when it's confronted with grace. And this does a really good job of setting up Galatians chapter 3. So we're in the fourth week of our study of this letter that the Apostle Paul wrote to these churches that are in this region of Turkey. And he is mad because this group of Jewish outsiders are trying to prevent, I say outsiders, they're Judaizers, they're operating within sort of Judaism and the church, but Paul is making it very clear that their message is not the gospel. So Paul is thundering against them that the equation is not faith plus works equals salvation, but it's faith plus nothing equals salvation plus works. Again, I've tried to make the point that it's not that our works don't matter, they do, but they don't earn. They are a confirmation. We were created, in Ephesians 2:10, I believe it says, we were created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God has prepared for us before the foundation of the world. So it's just, as we are sanctified by the finished work of Jesus, we should be expected to do good works. And so they're part of what we're supposed to do, and they're also a confirmation of a changed life. So the Judaizers were arguing that there were things that Gentile believers needed to do in order to become Jews so they could then become Christians. And the specifics about what is being argued about in the letter to the Galatians, circumcision and certain customs and dietary restrictions and other things, that's not our list, but we have to, and Paul is forcing us to see that we are saved by grace through faith, not of ourselves, it's a gift of God. So all of that sets up the question, what are we supposed to do with the law? Because the Bible has a lot of law in it. The showcase of the law, of course, would be the Ten Commandments. But the question now becomes, what are the rules about the rules? Like, are we supposed to ignore them? And in this setting, the Gentiles back in the first century are meeting with the law, the Ten Commandments, for the first time. So there's questions there. We're looking at the law through the vantage point of the other side of Christ's death and resurrection, and trying to make sense of what to do. So that's the question as we move into this fourth week of our study of Galatians. We're in chapter 3. Have a good day.